I'm Megan Aney at Sitting Pretty Pet Spa and Boutique down in the Lakeside District. And one thing that we definitely wanted to make sure that we covered was back to how often to bring your dog in. A lot of times, the more often you bring them in, it kind of helps you have eyes and ears as to how your dog is doing health-wise. Where you see your dog every day and you pet them and you pay attention to your dog, but not always do you notice all of the little kind of quirks that maybe are going on that are right down into the skin or into like a sore bone, something along those lines that you might not notice. And that's why having those extra eyes and ears on your dog, even every 6 to 8 weeks, is really helpful. When we are grooming the dog, again, we start with our assessment right out in the front, and sometimes you can tell things right then. Other times it's when you get them back into the bathtub and you're washing them, and as they're wet, all their hair lays flat, everything's smooth. You're able to feel those extra bumps and lumps. You're able to tell as you're picking up the feet and scrubbing your feet. You're able to tell if there's muscle tenderness. All of a sudden Fifi, you've been grooming her for years, and all of a sudden you pick up her back leg and she squeals, or something's off. And so those kind of things are really nice, because you might not have noticed that as a pet owner at home. And then same with little cysts. As dogs get older, they always get extra little bumps, moles, little things that typically are meaningless. It does not affect the health of your dog. It's just the same as a human getting little age spots and various things. Other times it's something that can be a concern, especially I've had multiple times where we have an older dog come in and you don't notice it because his hair, it's been 8 weeks, his hair's 3 times as long as it's been 8 weeks ago. Well, all of a sudden, we clip that hair off and you notice a weird growth on his face or on his side. And the fact that something like that showed up so fast is always a cause for concern. It's those fast growing type things, or all of a sudden, his one leg, he won't stand on it, things like that. And so it's always nice to take your dog to the groomer where you're able to get that hair off. If you would have waited another, instead of waiting 2 months, you would have waited 6 months. Well, now you're way past a time where you've caught it quickly. And we always see the people who catch things on their dogs quickly have the best luck as far as keeping their pet healthy. We typically then, when the owner picks up, we'll discuss the issues that we've found with the dog. A lot of times the owner is not aware of these issues, not because of any sort of neglect. It's nothing. We make sure that the owner knows it's nothing to be embarrassed about, that you didn't see something like that. How can you see it when it's covered in hair? And so we go over exactly what we found, but we're not vets. We're dog groomers. Any dog groomer who tries to give you too much medical advice is stepping beyond their knowledge. It doesn't mean that you don't know some things, but it's definitely something that then is referred to a vet. And there's lots of great local vets around us, and so we're very happy to refer our customers to a local vet if we see something that we think is a concern. A lot of times we are also able to help ease owners' concerns. They bring in their dog and they themselves have found a little bump on the side. And we're able to, look at that bump, and since we see dogs all the time, we see elderly dogs, we see puppies all the time, we're able to tell the owner, well, you're probably okay. Your dog's probably all right. This is just a new wart or a new cyst, something that's not of particular concern. Of course, we always say, if it makes you feel better, go to the vet. But it's kind of nice to have somebody who sees dogs all the time give you a second opinion, to really say, this isn't something out of the ordinary. It's a normal occurrence. So that is kind of a nice thing as your pet gets older, to stay with the same groomer. That way your groomer knows what's new to your pet and what has always been there. So all of a sudden, they found this little bump on them and you say, oh yeah, I've been keeping an eye on that. It hasn't gotten any bigger. Everything's looking good. So that's why it's always nice to stay not only on a regular basis, but to stay with, your same groomer, Or if you do switch groomers, to let them know of any old injuries, old bumps, old moles, warts, that kind of thing, so that they know that nothing's brand new. That really helps that connection between the customer and the groomer a lot. Starting with a puppy, a lot of people get their puppies right around 6-7 weeks. Some are older, but generally you don't get a puppy much earlier than that. We usually recommend that a puppy sees the dog groomer after their first set of shots. And that's something that you'd want to discuss with your vet. Every vet, is a little different in what they recommend. But we recommend that as soon as your vet gives you the okay to bring your puppy in, that's what you do. It definitely helps ease your puppy's concerns about being in a new place, having water sprayed on them. All of a sudden they have to stand on a table, and and even though we're very understanding, to puppies, we know that they're not going to stand perfect. We know that they're gonna, nibble on your hands, they're gonna wiggle around. And it is funny how many owners are genuinely concerned that their puppy's going to be too naughty, and that's really not a concern that owners should have. We see puppies all the time. We know they're going to be little stinkers, and that's okay. That's how they're supposed to be. And by going to a groomer that you trust and know is going to treat your puppy properly, your puppy's going to have a good time. So then your puppy's going to behave better. It may take a few grooms, but he's going to get better and better, as opposed to worse and worse, because all of a sudden he realizes that it's a fun place. Even though he's got to get down to business and he's got to do what he's got to do, it's not a negative environment. And so that's why it's really important to even just bring your brand new puppy into the groomer, just to meet the groomer even before an actual groom, so that he gets to kind of run around, he gets to play, he gets to see that it's not all bad. And then the next time, so maybe he's now 10 weeks old, he comes in, he gets a bath, and he experiences the water, he experiences the blow dryer, all those type of things. He'll experience his nails, things where he's not in control, where I have to hold his foot and trim his nails, and he's not going to like it, but they get to know it that way. And then, but then that's really all he would get done. Maybe we'd trim around the face, depending on, what kind of puppy it is. Those kind of things where it's a small visit. That way he knows that he's only here for a little bit. It's mostly fun with a little bit of business, and then he goes home and gets to have fun. He gets mushed on and loves it, and blah, blah, blah. And so then the next visit, we do a little bit more. Maybe then we're going to trim, the whole body. We're going to, do just a little bit more. And so that way it eases your puppy into life at the groomer, and he realizes it's not all bad. That's not to say that dogs aren't still nervous when they come in. Anytime you bring your dog out of your home, which is his comfort zone, out of where he normally walks around the block, out of going down to the beach, something that's a little bit different, he's going to be nervous. We have tile floors in our front entryway. The back isn't slippery, but the front can be kind of slippery, and so the dogs are nervous. They sense weird smells. Even dogs I've been grooming for years come in and they're just shaking. And that's very, very normal. It doesn't mean that your dog doesn't necessarily like grooming. It just means that he's in a strange place out of his normal element. We definitely, at that point, try to help them understand that it's not the worst place in the world. Nothing's going to hurt them. Nothing's going to, even at the vet, your vet may be very nice and very wonderful, but some things kind of hurt. It's same with you go to the doctor, some shots hurt. Nothing here hurts. And so we're able to help them get over that anxiety of leaving their owner. A lot of times that's just by petting them and, trying to ease their fears. We do have carpets, for them to kind of sit on and walk on. And then once we get them into the back, we try to make sure that they feel comfortable. We take them off their leash so that they can explore the back area by themselves. And, where we're not pulling them around, we're not even really in control, They just get to experience the whole area themselves. And then it's time to start the bath. because we do have to get down to business at some point, you know. And we try to make sure that the water's nice and warm for them. The jet, you know, our sprayer's not too powerful where it's going to scare them. This is all things that you learn right off the bat as a groomer, and then you perfect these techniques as you groom longer and longer. But some of the main things, you know, that we try to do is just keep that water real close to them so it's not spraying all over, spraying in their face. If they seem really noise frightened, you know, a lot of commotion scares them. A lot of times we have like a little hoodie that we put on them. It's just like a piece of towel material that helps kind of close their ears a little bit. That helps, definitely with some of our more anxiety-ridden dogs. We also a lot of times schedule those dogs at quieter times. We have very early morning appointments. We have late appointments. Some days are busier than others. So it's something where we try to accommodate the dog's personality. Some dogs, as soon as their owner leaves and they get into the back, they're perfectly fine. It was all just a show for the owner, you know. And the owner, of course, never believes us that, oh yeah, Fifi was fine once you left. But it's true. We don't, you know, we're not going to make things up. If a dog really has high anxiety, we want to address that, because we don't want, it's hard to groom a dog that has high anxiety, and so we would try to address that by our scheduling and different things like that, talking quieter, making sure that the barking dogs are away from them, you know, that kind of thing. If they're not comfortable walking around in the back, they don't have to. We'll hold them, we'll put them up. We have different partitions where we can put them in different areas where they're more comfortable. But definitely you always want to find a groomer who is in tune to your dog's needs and knows when to baby them and when to get down to business and exactly how your dog responds the best to any situation.